The roar inside the arena built gradually at first, a low murmur of anticipation that soon swelled into a thunderous declaration of dominance as the Boston Celtics delivered one of the most electrifying offensive performances of the season, dismantling the Miami Heat 147-129 in a game that will be remembered not just for its staggering point total, but for the sheer precision, rhythm, and confidence with which Boston executed every phase of its attack. From the opening tip to the final buzzer, the Celtics played with a pace and purpose that overwhelmed Miami, turning what might have been a competitive contest into a relentless showcase of modern basketball at its most potent, blending speed, spacing, and surgical shot-making into a near-perfect offensive symphony that left the Heat scrambling for answers they could never quite find. It began with intent. Boston came out aggressive, pushing the tempo immediately and refusing to allow Miami to settle into its typically disciplined defensive schemes. Early possessions were characterized by crisp ball movement, quick decision-making, and a willingness to take high-quality shots without hesitation. The Celtics spread the floor beautifully, forcing Miami's defenders into constant rotations. And once those rotations began to lag even slightly, Boston capitalized with devastating efficiency. Whether it was perimeter shooting, drives into the paint, or second-chance opportunities created through hustle on the glass, the Celtics attacked every available weakness with a level of coordination that suggested not just preparation, but a deep understanding among players who trust one another completely. The first quarter alone set the tone for what would become a historic night. Boston's offense operated like a well-oiled machine, generating open looks from beyond the arc while also carving up the interior with timely cuts and drives. Miami, known for its defensive resilience, found itself caught between choices: close out on shooters and risk giving up lanes to the basket, or protect the paint and allow Boston's shooters the space they needed to ignite from long range. Neither option proved effective, and by the end of the opening period, the Celtics had already built a commanding lead that signaled the beginning of a long night for the Heat. As the game progressed into the second quarter, Boston showed no signs of slowing down. In fact, their offensive rhythm seemed to intensify. Bench players stepped in seamlessly, maintaining the same level of energy and execution as the starters. This depth proved crucial, as it allowed the Celtics to sustain their blistering pace without sacrificing efficiency. Each possession felt purposeful, each pass deliberate, and each shot the result of calculated teamwork rather than individual improvisation. The scoreboard continued to climb, and with each passing minute, the gap between the two teams widened, leaving Miami increasingly frustrated as their attempts to mount a comeback were consistently thwarted by Boston's relentless scoring. For the Heat, the challenge was not a lack of effort but an inability to disrupt the Celtics' flow. Miami tried multiple defensive looks, switching schemes and adjusting matchups in an effort to slow Boston's attack, but nothing seemed to work for long. Every time the Heat managed to string together a few stops, the Celtics responded with another burst of scoring that erased any momentum Miami had begun to build. Offensively, the Heat found some success, putting up a respectable 129 points of their own. But the problem was that Boston simply operated on another level, turning the game into a track meet that favored their style and strengths. By halftime, the narrative was already clear. This was Boston's night. The Celtics had crossed the 70-point mark with ease, showcasing a level of offensive firepower that few teams in the league could hope to match. Their shooting percentages were exceptional, their turnovers minimal, and their ability to convert opportunities into points nearly flawless. Meanwhile, Miami faced the daunting task of trying to contain a team that seemed incapable of missing, a challenge that grew more difficult with each possession. The third quarter often serves as the decisive stretch in basketball games, and in this contest it was no different, though not in the way Miami might have hoped. Rather than allowing the Heat a chance to claw back into contention, the Celtics used the period to further assert their dominance. They opened the half with a surge of energy, hitting consecutive shots that quickly pushed the lead to an insurmountable margin. The crowd responded with deafening enthusiasm, feeding off the team's performance and adding to the sense that something special was unfolding before their eyes. What made Boston's performance particularly impressive was not just the volume of scoring, but the diversity of their offensive approach. Points came from everywhere: fast breaks, half-court sets, three-point shots, mid-range jumpers, and finishes at the rim. The Celtics demonstrated an ability to adapt on the fly, recognizing defensive adjustments and countering them with ease. This versatility made it nearly impossible for Miami to focus on any single aspect of Boston's game, as every player on the floor posed a legitimate scoring threat. As the fourth quarter approached, the outcome was all but decided. Yet the Celtics continued to play with intensity and focus. There was no complacency, no easing off the gas. Instead, Boston treated each possession as an opportunity to refine their execution, to maintain their rhythm, and to send a message, not just to Miami, but to the rest of the league. The final score of 147 points stood as a testament to their effort, a number that reflected not just individual brilliance, but collective excellence. For Miami, the loss was a difficult one to absorb, though not without its lessons. Scoring 129 points would typically be enough to secure a victory, yet on this night, it served only to highlight the extraordinary nature of Boston's performance. The Heat showed resilience and determination, continuing to compete despite the mounting deficit, but they ultimately found themselves outmatched by a team operating at peak efficiency. In the aftermath of the game, discussions naturally turned to what this performance means for the Celtics moving forward. Such a dominant display reinforces their status as one of the most formidable offensive teams in the league, capable of overwhelming opponents with a combination of skill, depth, and strategic execution. It also underscores the importance of chemistry and cohesion, elements that were clearly evident in the way Boston moved the ball and supported one another throughout the contest. Beyond the immediate implications, the game serves as a broader reflection of the evolution of basketball in the modern era.